How will the Rams make this defense work? I'm Joe Tarosian. This is RamView. Live from the Ram Cave. I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the April 5th, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Kistler Law at 661-206-6990 has answers for you. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Wow, that opening really could use some help. That was an interesting opening here. But we made it through. We're in business. Clarify something real quick here. So talking about that Ram defense, I went through the Rams schedule on Monday, and going through the Rams schedule, it's not about date and time because we don't know the dates and times. We just have an idea who the opponents are. And I said in the most optimistic world, the most optimistic view I can see is the Rams going 10-7. And that means the defense will have to have figured itself out. Otherwise, the realistic outcome is 7-10. And again, that's if the offense stays healthy. But when you look at the Rams defense, you have to wonder, what is the plan right now? What is the plan? So my guess is they are going to load up on the draft. And this is something I wanted to get into a little bit later, but it's kind of kicking up because of some of the messages I got just before going on. The Rams could trade out of number 36. It's not unheard of for the Rams to trade back to maybe pick up another pick, maybe a pick in the fourth round where they don't have anybody. Maybe really allowing some team in the back of the second round to move up and maybe picking up another pick inside the top 100, because the Rams are really going to have to flood the zone here. And because there's just not players out there that are really worth signing. I mean, when you look at the free agents that are out there on the board right now, who do you expect the Rams to go after? Who's going to go after that's going to really make a difference? You got, how do we say this? We got, I'm looking at this right here, this list right here. You have Jadeveon Clowney. This guy's a free agent every year. Melvin Ingram, Frank Clark. These guys are on their last legs. These are edge guys. Maybe an off-ball linebacker to help Ernest Jones, Kyle Van Noy. And then, of course, Leonard Floyd and Ashawn Robinson. You got to believe if they're still floating around out there in June, maybe they're candidates to come back and join this team. So it isn't unheard of to think of the Rams maybe making a move to go and pull out of 136, because there's not a lot of free agents out there. They're going to move the needle. And so if you're going to be competitive this year and get into a 10-win frame of mind, it's not a rebuild. If you're going to get into that place, into that space, then you really have to think about, okay, where are they going to get it from? They're going to have an infusion of talent come in and have almost like a Seattle Seahawks draft last year, where they were getting contributions from everybody up and down the line in their 7 or 8 picks that they had last year. I think they nailed like 5 or 6 picks, became instant starters. And so that's something the Rams are going to have to do to be in that 10-7, because as it stands right now, this defense, whoa, right? And then again, I throw out there their scheme, right? When you're getting carved up, I haven't said this for a month, but when you're getting carved up by the likes of Colt McCoy and Andy Dalton, you've got problems. And that's not just personnel, that's scheme. And that's what has Ram fans worried, I have to believe, has this Rams fan worried. Of course, the key to everything is really looking at the NFC West, 6 games in the NFC West. Optimistically, I'm thinking because of the quarterback issues with the 49ers, the Rams may split one with them. That would be a big big thing here if the Rams could actually get a regular season win against the 49ers. I think they should have beat Seattle twice last year, but this is a Seattle team that's getting better and likely by 2024 will be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, depending on maybe the progress of Geno Smith. But the 49ers, again, I brought this up a year ago. Yeah, the Rams whiffed. They went 5-12 last year, but the Rams got their ring, right? They got their Super Bowl ring. They get to go to the 49ers like this, right? And 49ers lost another year, another window closed, part of the window closed a little more. Trent Williams turns 35. Deebo Samuel's only 27, but he's got mileage. George Kittle is turning 30. He's got mileage. Tayshaun Gibson, who kind of came in there and took Jimmy Ward's job. Jimmy Ward's in Houston now. Tayshaun Gibson's been in the league since 2012. He's 33 years old. Are they going to get another good year out of Tayshaun Gibson? Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback's 31. Eric Armstead's going to be turning 30. And then Nick Bosa, he's a Bosa, right? There's always some nagging thing messing with Nick or Joey Bosa. And so 49er, and then they don't have a quarterback right now, right? If Sam Darnold's playing, they are basically announcing that they whiffed on Trey Lance. Good for them. And then, of course, the Brock Purdy issue. And so by the time they get this figured out, yeah, they'll be a playoff team, but they're not going to be a dangerous team. And again, another year passes, another year these players getting older. The Cardinals don't scare me at all. I actually heard one show talk about the Cardinals tanking this year and then trading Kyler Murray so they can have a shot next year on Caleb Williams or Drake May. And I really thought that was funny because we talked about a month ago about maybe the Cardinals drafting a quarterback at number 3 and really throwing the draft into a tizzy if they drafted a quarterback, since Colt McCoy is hurt a little bit and Kyler Murray's not expected back till mid-season. Now, they're married to Kyler Murray. There's nothing they can do. But if they see a quarterback they like at drafting number 3, I mean, maybe, why not, right? And then slowly you can ease out of the Kyler Murray phase. I know that's a real reach, but I thought it was interesting seeing another talk show consider that, or just tanking so they can get a shot at Caleb Williams and Drake May, which is interesting in itself, is that the idea of, Caleb Williams is transformational. Drake May is pretty close. You could try to do that, but really, is there a guarantee that those guys won't get hurt, that something won't be discovered in their game that kind of takes them down a peg? You just don't know. And I don't know how you can forecast 2 years out when you've got this year to worry about, and you're going to sell your soul and go 0-17, 2-15 to draft somebody that you don't know where they're going to be as far as being a player next year. Now, if we could fast forward to next year with what we know now, Caleb Williams, right? Who doesn't want Caleb Williams? But I don't know if I'd want to tank my season for Caleb Williams. Well, I guess if you're the Cardinals, you got nothing to live for anyway. And then the team that everyone worries about is the Seattle Seahawks. Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams are back at safety. Older, but they got developing corners in Bryant and Woolen. Bobby Wagner's back. And if they get their hands on an elite edge or a defensive tackle, that'll be no bueno for the Rams. The Seahawks are really going to be back in action. Now, I don't know if you can they still got Lockett. They still got Metcalf. Now, I don't know if you can count on another year like Geno Smith had, but Seattle's going places here, right? They're going up with a bullet. They're hot. And so keep an eye on the Seahawks going forward in terms of how it affects the Rams. And then again, as you're watching these things, what are the Rams going to do? All kinds of rumors are out there. And I love watching rumors. And you see some of the big dog corporations, and I don't really want to name them because I don't want to turn into, we're bagging on the bigger podcasts, the bigger networks and everything. But when I saw the rumors about Mac Jones getting traded, and I saw one of the major networks speculating that Detroit may have interest in Mac Jones, speculating that Brad Holmes, who was in Los Angeles when the Rams drafted Jared Goff, who made the deal to bring in Jared Goff to Detroit, Dan Campbell, who has leaned on Jared Goff the last 2 years and nearly got him a playoff berth, The Detroit Lions, who have not drafted a quarterback so far and are not really expected to draft one this year at number 6, or was it number 6? Yeah, it's number 6, that the New England Patriots would offer them Mac Jones, and then the Detroit Lions would take it and give up Jared Goff for this year, 2023. That just seems so lazy. It's amazing what can pass for intelligent sports talk these days. And no, I don't think the Lions are going to move off Jared Goff unless they can get somebody that's better than Jared Goff. And Mac Jones isn't proving he's any better than Jared Goff. He could be Jared Goff-like, maybe Jared Goff light, but he's not Jared Goff right now. Jared Goff is the key for Detroit right now, outside of scoring something big. If somehow a CJ Stroud fell to them, somehow a Bryce Young fell to them, that's the move the Lions would make. But I don't think they're going to make a move. Trade Jared Goff to New England? I mean, that's like Jim Morris saying playoffs. You're talking playoffs? Mac Jones for Jared Goff right now? I thought preposterous. Now, on the flip side, this didn't come from one of the networks, but this came, I was stuck in traffic, and I put on a Rams podcast called the Rams Up podcast. And I don't know the name of the guy that does it. He's got a very pleasant voice, nice guy. But the Rams Up podcast actually had the guy there describe this, and I thought it was pretty smart. He said Greg Gaines took a 1-year, $3.5 million contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the lead guy at the Rams Up podcast, available on Spotify and Apple and all good places, he suggested that Greg Gaines being with Tampa is like he's taking a sabbatical year. He's taking a year off from the Rams, and that with the money the Rams will have available in 24, it's likely Greg Gaines could return for a 2 or 3 year contract. I didn't even consider that. I thought that was just a brilliant take by Rams Up. So Rams Up podcast, good job. And, they're a good podcast. They're not as big as the network that's suggesting Mac Jones for Jared Goff. And it shows you sometimes it's the guys that are out there in the trenches working hard come up with some of the best stuff. All right, cool. I'm Joe Tarosian, and now it's commercial time. And I was a sports writer for 21 years. And now I do RamView. I also write books, and you can find my books on Amazon. I've written a couple high school football novels and some dystopian Christian and some books about bullying, and you can check those out. They all supplement my income along while I do RamView to support my job. I serve as a pastor of a small church in Burbank Faith online. It is Burbank Faith Virtual, and we have a channel right here on YouTube that you could subscribe to and check out, like some good people have already. I want to thank you for your support. We want to say thank you to our sponsors, Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. Be sure to check those groups out and support them when you can, because, hey, they're allowing me to do RamView 3 times a week. Who wouldn't love to be talking sports all day? I'm blessed. All right, commercial in. This day in Rams history, born in 1963, today he turned 60, is former Ram punter Dale Hatcher. Rams took him out of Clemson all those years ago. Nice punter for the Rams. Turning 50 today, born in 1973, Tony Banks. He was the Rams starter for 3 years. Rams took him second round, 42nd overall, 1996, out of Michigan State. And he was a 3-year starter, didn't really develop. They dealt him to the Ravens. He was actually on the Ravens in 2000 when they won the Super Bowl, lost his job to Trent Dilfer, but the dude got a ring, played in the league 10 years, Tony Banks. Born on this day in 1976 is a guy you might not remember that played 7 years for the Rams. He was out of Washington. He was an undrafted free agent, special teamer, occasional receiver. He caught 112 passes for the Rams. Guy named Dane Looker. You remember Dane Looker? Came in right at the tail end of the greatest show on turf era. He was a special teamer. He got more playing time as everything started crumbling around the Rams. And so Dane Looker turns 47 today. And then born on this day in 1977, April 5th, quarterback out of West Virginia. He was a 6th-round pick of the New Orleans Saints, got cut, got bounced around a little bit, Finally, in 2002, he stuck with the Rams and was their starter through 2009. Marc Bulger. Marc Bulger turns 46. Spent 8 seasons with the Rams, couple of Pro Bowls, 122 touchdown passes, played in 96 games, started 95. Now think about this. Marc Bulger played in 96 games for the Rams and was sacked 254 times. And in spite of all that, he started 3 playoff games for the Rams, and he won a crucial one in Seattle in 2004. Marc Bulger is one of the best quarterbacks of the Super Bowl era the Rams have ever had, and he's completely forgotten because he filled out the rest of the Mike Martz, Scott Linehan era, and he got krilled. He got absolutely crushed as the Rams quarterback, and it was tragic. That's what happens when you draft Alex Barron to protect Marc Bulger. And I'd love to see Marc Bulger get a little more respect, but Marc Bulger turns 46 today. Underrated Ram. Also on this date in 1990, the Rams waived cornerback Leroy Irvin. He spent 10 seasons with the Rams. Later that August, he signed and played his last season with the Lions, played in 16 games. But the Rams acquired Irvin, 3rd round, 70th overall in 1980 out of Kansas, 35 interceptions. He had 4 punt returns for a touchdown, 3 in 1981, another in 1982. In fact, 2 of those in 1981 came in Fulton County Stadium when the Rams beat the Falcons. And what I remember out that day was Rams came back. Not only did Leroy Irvin return 2 punts for touchdowns, but Jeff Rutledge was the quarterback that led the Rams back. I always felt we gave up on Rutledge too soon. Speaking of Marc Bulger, on April 5th, which was his birthday, on his 33rd birthday on April 5th, 2010, the Rams released Marc Bulger. On this day in 2017, Rams signed center John Sullivan. He was a free agent. He had played for the Vikings 1 year in Washington, had some knee injuries. Came back, gave the Rams 2 solid years, a very good 2017 and a so-so 2018. He was not re-signed, and he was at the end of his line. Spent 10 years in the NFL, but I have good memories of John Sullivan. He was part of that original McVay group that came in 2017 that settled things down. And then on this day last year, the Rams signed Riley Dixon, punter, to a 1-year contract. They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go. Riley Dixon is now a member of the Denver Broncos. Any Ram news we got going on out there? Just remember, April 17th, players report. OTAs begin at the end of May, and mandatory minicamp starts in June, on June 13th through the 15th. Former Ram Chandler Brewer signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an undrafted free agent that had been with the Rams since 2019. Started 4 games last year at right guard, and he was okay. He was all right. He wasn't horrible. He was, but then again, when any player puts on a jersey for the Rams and plays the offensive line, the high end is always, Tom Mack, Jackie Slater, Dennis Hara, Andrew Whitworth. There's this high end for the Rams, right? And then there's Bobby Evans. No one could be as bad as Bobby Evans. So Chandler Brewer kind of comes up a little bit. And he got a contract with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So good for the Middle Tennessee State graduate who was an undrafted free agent. We all know about Taylor Rapp, Bobby Wagner, David Edwards, Brandon Powell, Riley Dixon, David Long Jr., Nick Scott, Greg Gaines, Matt Orzak, Matt Gay, Baker Mayfield, and Jalen Ramsey, all signing, traded, gone on to other teams. A'Shawn Robinson is still a free agent. Leonard Floyd is still a free agent. Who knows? Maybe, possibly. Traven Howard, Jacob Harris. And I haven't mentioned these guys because I think the offensive line is set in terms of who they have on the roster. But still floating out there are Ode Obuche and Ty Neski. Early on, Obuche and Neski weren't great. But as the line settled the last month of the season, those guys were out there every day. They weren't too bad. Unfortunately, they had to play alongside Matt Skura. But we'll see what the Rams could possibly bring back in 2023. I think there is a strong possibility you could see some familiar faces return if they don't get a contract. Steve Ramirez, former sports writer, longtime friend. He always tags me when he posts his mock draft. I like to give him credit. Steve's an intelligent guy. Steve is a true Ram fan, but he's not what you would call a a sports bar Ram fan. This guy knows his stuff. And like I said, if I spent 21 years as a sports writer, I think he spent close to 40 as a paid sports writer. And, but Steve sent me his mock draft, and it looks a little bit like some other ones, but he still got at number 36, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, the edge at Kansas State. Number 69, Zach Charbonnet, running back UCLA. Number 77, Tanner McKee, quarterback, Stanford. I love that one. Corey Trice, who the Rams have met with, cornerback out of Purdue. Jonah Tavai, defensive tackle, San Diego State. Juice Scruggs. I mean, on the name alone, he should be drafted. Juice Scruggs, center, Penn State. Not a bad pick at 177 overall. Anthony Johnson Jr., safety, Iowa State. At 182. At 189, Jacob Slade, defensive tackle, Michigan State. At 191, Daniel Scott, safety at California. 223, Jordan McFadden, tackle, Clemson. And 251, Brett Nealon, center at USC. Anudike-Uzomah, if still available, is a good get at number 36. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with BJ Ojulari. I'm happy with Will McDonald. I'm happy with any of those guys. If the Rams could score those guys, we'd love to see them score an edge. Although we have talked about how the Rams have not drafted an edge player inside the top 50 in the McSnead era, let alone the top 75. The highest edge player the Rams have ever drafted was Terrell Lewis, and I think third round at 84. I think I got to double check that, but I think that's what it was. We just talked about that the other day. I like this draft. I do like the edge at number 36. And I understand running backs being devalued, but Charbonnet is a good back. In fact, more and more people really like Zach Charbonnet because he can do a little bit of everything. What a good get at 69. I would be for that at that spot. And I love Tanner McKee. If you can get Tanner McKee at 77, I don't know what the Rams are thinking right now at quarterback. They're interviewing, Aiden O'Connell. They're interviewing Clayton Tune. They're interviewing some other guys that look like they're back halfers, 5th round, 6th round guys. And I don't know if they would, even though I want them to. I'd like to see Tanner McKee, a Hendon Hooker, go to the Rams to have them develop them, have somebody in house when Matthew Stafford walks the green mile of his career. The only thing I'll disagree with Steve on is I didn't like 2 safeties being drafted. I understand some of that's for special teams, but I would have preferred 2 edge players being taken. I do like Juice Scruggs, 6'3", 301, but I don't like the second center. Not that I don't like USC's Brett Nealon. I just don't like 2 centers being taken with the 11th pick. I'd rather have seen another DT. Would have rather have seen another off-ball linebacker that late. I think I would have rather seen something else. So it was interesting, but it was a good draft. I really like the top 3 picks there. In fact, I like most of that draft, except for just too many safeties. Rams always draft a safety. I didn't need 2 safeties, or 2 centers. So we'll go from there. But good job, Steve. Also, Rob Sorge, Steeler fan in Missouri, he offered me this great trade as a Steeler fan, which is 2nd round this year. Remember, Miami had a pick stripped from it. So the first round basically ends with pick number 31. So the Steelers have pick 32, which any year past would have been a first-round pick. And this guy graciously says, hey, we'll make a deal with you. We'll move back and take your 36th pick. You send us a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder, and we'll give you 32, which is essentially a first-round pick, to move up 4 spots. And I just wrote him back. I said, is there something at 32 the Rams have to have that can't be had at number 36, right? Rams need an edge player, right? There's plenty of edge players in this draft, and nobody is consistent on who they think is going to be in the first round to the 2nd or 3rd round. We've seen guys all over the yard, and so I speaking for the Rams, I told Mr. Sorge out there in Missouri, Steeler fan, that what he could do with his offer to move up 4 spaces. Like I said, if the Rams do anything trade-wise, I could see them moving back, picking up an extra pick, perhaps in the 4th round, or if a team's really desperate to get up to 36, maybe sniping off their top 100 pick, because they got to flood the zone. They need edge. They need linebacker. They need defensive interior help. Need another corner. And like you said, there's not a whole lot out there in the free agent market at this point that's going to move the needle. If the Rams want to get into that 10-win realm where they're relevant in December and January, they're really going to need to have a heck of a draft. And it might be about picking up more selections, dropping back and picking up some more selections. And of course, we know all the players the Rams have met with. Rams Wire is doing a good job of keeping that stuff posted. There are various sites you can find out who the Rams have met with. Always look to see who the Rams met and who played in the Senior Bowl. Those are key things. Kalijah Cansey, everyone's in love with. Osiris Torrance, I don't see him going at 36. Steve Ramirez had Corey Trice. Payne Durham, another Purdue tight end. Maybe the Rams will do better with him than maybe with Bryce Hopkins. Aiden O'Connell, Adebowar, the Northwestern guy, the Rams interviewed him. Schoonmaker, Michigan. New guy, Zach Kuntz, the Old Dominion guy. Now, I will say this. I didn't know who Zach Kuntz was, but I was listening to Rams Up. Look at this. I'm propping another podcast. But Rams Up, the guy on there with the nice voice, he was talking about Zach Kuntz and talking about him being maybe available to the Rams in the 5th round out of Old Dominion. That's interesting. Rams have met with Will McDonald IV, and interesting enough, he's the only edge they've met with. Moving right along all the way down the line here. Clayton Tune is now scheduled to come in to meet with the Rams, which is really interesting because loyal RamView follower Tim in Irvine was honking for Clayton Tune. I said no, and now Clayton Tune is coming in to interview with the Rams, and people do seem to like Clayton Tune. You say Houston to me, I hear Andre Ware and David Klingler. That's what I hear, and Case Keenum, right? I don't have a Houston reference at quarterback that really gets me excited. So Klingler, Keenum, and Ware. Yeah, that doesn't make me say, yeah, give me that Houston quarterback, right? There we go. All right, I think we got the show in. We went on later today because of some stuff. I had some day job stuff to do. I actually ran a funeral today. Give us your thoughts. Send us your ideas. Love to talk. If you got a mock draft you want to post, or if you got a player you want to honk for, let us know. We love talking Ram football, Ram history, and all things in between. Yeah, that's it. This is our story. This is our song. Talking about the Rams all day long. Okay, I'm Joe Tarosian. Thank you so much for clicking on, and we will talk to you on Friday. God bless.